Hello, welcome to the next installment of our latest masterclass series. Today we're talking about how to get noticed by international publishers. I am Lindsay Jones, I'm the CEO of DropCap. And if you'd like to just pop into the chat and let us know who you are, where you're from. I know we'll have some authors with us today that are already utilizing DropCap and they're looking to make the most of it. And I know we'll have some authors that are completely brand new to us and to rights licensing. So I'll try to go over things from both perspectives here today. And I see we have a few people tuning in so far. So I will go ahead and get started. Like I said, my name's Lindsay. We're talking about how to get noticed by international publishers. And oh, yes, and if at any time you have questions that come up, feel free to pop them into the chat. I aim to make the presentation about 20 minutes so that we have a good time at the end for questions. So as you think of things, feel free to post them in the chat and I will do my best to get through all of the questions at the end. So first off, I'd like to talk about what is DropCap Marketplace. Like I said, some of our authors are DropCap authors already, but if there's anyone tuning in who does not know anything about DropCap, we are a rights marketplace primarily serving independent authors. So we've built a platform where authors and some independent publishers and even literary agents can list books that are then being perused by foreign rights buyers around the world. So we have over 2,700 rights buyers that range from foreign publishers, foreign rights agents, audiobook publishers, a few number of film agents that are logging into our platform to find content that they want to license. And our mission at DropCap is to provide that content from indie sources like independent authors. And really, our bread and butter is foreign rights. So that means books that are being translated into other languages. Sometimes they're being adapted for other countries, but are still in English. There's a whole range of foreign rights that can be licensed around the world, and that's what DropCap deals in. So next, I want to talk about how publishers in our platform find the books that are listed. Because if you want to gear your listing to have the best chance of success being found by a foreign rights buyer, it's helpful to know what exactly they're looking for. So there's three ways that our foreign publishers, foreign agents, etc., are encountering books within our platform. The first way is that they're using our advanced search and filter tool. So this is like any sort of retail site where you're looking at a lot of products and you have something in mind specific that you want, you're going to use those filter functions to try to find what you're looking for. The same thing goes for books. So in a lot of markets, there might be a trending topic. For example, mindfulness is always a big topic that we encounter. A rights buyer might go to our platform and use our advanced search and filter to find books about mindfulness. Romantasy continues to be a really popular genre in fiction. They might go to our platform to find specifically romantasy books in that genre. So that's one way that they're encountering books, and that's really important that you're present for that, that you're discoverable in that search, because trends kind of can change on a dime, and we don't always know what the next big thing is going to be. So being there when a potential rights buyer is searching for a new thing and your book comes up, that can be very valuable. So that's the first way. The second way is that books are being matched to our rights buyers criteria and pitched weekly via email. So this is where we're looking at what our rights buyers typically buy, what types of genres, what types of books, what's been recently licensed in their market, and we are suggesting them books from DropCap Marketplace in a weekly email. So when we talk about our network of 2,700 plus rights buyers, we are not pitching your book to every single one of those buyers because it's not going to be a fit for every single one of those buyers. We're using a smart algorithm that we've developed ourselves that is doing its job to match your book with the rights buyers that we think are going to be most interested. So it's very highly targeted, and our success and open rate for those emails is very high. So we have a very engaged audience. They know DropCap, they trust us. So that's the second way that that publishers find books through our platform. And then the third way is that they actively log into dashboards that are part of our platform. So, for example, when you log into DropCap Marketplace, you have a certain set of tools that you're able to utilize with regard to listing your book, updating your listings, running reports. Buyers have a dashboard like that as well, but they are being shown our authors' books. And we have different categories that they can explore. We're always showcasing the newest books. We're showcasing trending titles, and those are titles that, just like a search algorithm, are getting more interactions. Uh, that we see people are interacting with a lot, that they're finding popular. Those have a section within the buyer's dashboards, and they're seeing recently licensed titles as well. That's one of the things that they're looking at when they log into their dashboard. So that's kind of a more curated way, similar to the email, based on what the buyer's genres or buying habits are. We're showing them books that we think are going to be of most interest to them. So it's, again, highly targeted. The first thing that a buyer is going to see is your cover and your title. So on their dashboard or in the search, for example, as you can see in the example here, they are seeing the cover, they're seeing the title, and they're seeing the categories that the book appears in. The number one thing is the cover. They say don't judge a book by its cover, but it happens all the time. And if you have an eye-catching cover, that is what is going to make them click on it. So that's any marketing. You'll probably get that feedback that the first thing you should focus on is the cover, because that's what's going to grab readers' attention. It's also what's going to grab rights buyers' attention. That being said, they're going to likely change the cover if they license the book, but we'll talk about that in a different webinar. Um, so next, I'd like to talk about what our rights buyers are saying about our platform, because DropCap is really doing things differently from other rights agencies. If you're an author that's tuning in and you don't know anything about us, but maybe you've tried to query an agent before, you're trying to get some sort of representation, no other agents in the rights licensing business are using a platform and using technology to curate books like we are. And our rights buyers are very positive about using our platform and interacting with our books in this way. So this is the managing editor from Manjul Publishing House. And she says that no one has the same book discoverability system that you have. Your platform is very convenient for us as rights buyers in India. So we're doing our best to make things as easy as possible for rights buyers. We found that a lot of them were trying to find independent content through Amazon. But Amazon doesn't tell you who the rights holder is or who to talk to about rights. It's displaying things in a way that is great for readers, but not necessarily for rights buyers. So our concept with DropCap is to take the information that is most important to the rights buyer and present it in the best and easiest way possible so that they can make decisions about acquisitions. So how do you make your listing stand out? Because ultimately, that's once they click on that book, they see the cover, they like it. The listing is the very next thing that is going to aid in their decision making about pursuing your book further. So, like I said, professional eye-catching cover. The second thing I want to highlight is appropriate categories selected. So, I'm not sure if you can see this here, but the categories for this book, Mindfully Successful, are mind, body, spirit, and self-help. We don't have a memoir category selected there or a general nonfiction category. It's very specific. It's very much related to what the book is about. I know sometimes I see people list their book and they just put in a lot of categories because they want it to have the broadest appeal to all of the buyers. But really, if you're selective, you're choosing 2 to 3 that are the best fit for your book, that's going to be a lot more effective than adding too many categories. And again, if you have questions about that, happy to answer it, but it's good to be concise. By the same token, the description here, I highlighted this part. It is really helpful to have a concise, well formatted description that is easily scannable. So I was just at the London Book Fair, and I was pitching books to some of our rights buyers. I know the books pretty well, but when you're in 30-minute back-to-back meetings where you're talking about more than a dozen books every 30 minutes, it is helpful to have a book description that you can scan through and convey the most important points about that book quickly. Um, that's from a pitching perspective. It's also important from an attention grabbing perspective. If a buyer clicks on your book and they see a wall of text here and they can't quickly discern what it's about, they're probably going to click away and go look for something else. So I pulled this example because I liked at the top here, we have a nice bold endorsement that can, if you can have a name that people recognize, that can be very helpful. If you can't, like if you've solicited endorsements and you can't get a big name, that's fine. Reach out to other authors that are writing in the same genre as you. See if you can trade endorsements. It's helpful to have a third party that is saying something nice about your book right at the top there. And then the other thing I liked about this one was the bullet points. So I can see very quickly what the book is about, and if I'm pitching it, I can convey it to the interested rights buyer. If the buyer's looking at it, they can very quickly see what it's about. If the book is fiction, uh, this format might not work exactly the same. You can say these are comparable titles. For fans who liked Sarah J. Maas, you should pick up this book, or these are the specific titles that this book is similar to. So there's ways that you can do this for both fiction and nonfiction that make it easy for the rights buyer to quickly scan and understand if it's a book that they'd like to review and pursue further. The awards and endorsements section. This is very important to help your listing stand out. You see this section here. I see in a lot of our listings, there's nothing here. This isn't filled out at all, and that is not going to do you any favors. You want to solicit endorsements from people in your field if you're nonfiction, from other authors if you're fiction, any expert or anyone that's adjacent to what you're writing about. You can ask them for an endorsement. Of course, it's going to be more impactful if it's someone really well known, but like I said, it doesn't have to be. It can be niche within your field or your genre that you're writing in. You're going to want to apply to awards. If you don't have any awards for your book, again, that's okay. But even if you can say you were a finalist for XYZ award, or you were longlisted, that shows that you're taking the initiative to put your book out and build an audience and try to generate interest and awards in that way. Of course, if you win an award, that is even better. But showing that you're involved in the marketing of your book and using this section to do so is very important. Other information that can go in this section are things like if you have a good Amazon sales ranking. There's a lot of efforts you can do. I know with targeting specific categories on Amazon where your book might be more competitive to achieve a higher ranking. Uh, if you can get a nice ranking on Amazon, definitely put that in here. Um, Really, any sort of positive PR, anyone saying nice things about your book, put it in here. The more editorial it can be, the better. But there are paid reviews you can do as well. Like we partner with Forward Reviews. They have a service called Clarion, where they have a professional reviewer do a very nice job of critiquing your book in an insightful way. And that is another thing you can do to get a blurb about your book that you can then use to market it. And I'm happy to provide more information about that if anyone is curious. So yes, this section has a big impact on discoverability. And it's really a way to provide evidence that you have an audience that is reading your book. Um, if you have, think outside the box. If you have a following on Wattpad or something like that, uh, put it here. Like there's nothing you can do that that is wrong here. I mean, I'd be careful not to overhype, but we want to show that there's people in the US reading your book because that's going to influence buyers' decisions around the world. So a few other key elements to optimize. The big one I want to talk about here, in addition to your book listing, is your author page. So some authors may not, if you have a DropCap account, you may not realize that you also have an author page that you can fill out. It's going to be in your left-hand navigation. And this is really important because more and more, especially rights buyers, want to know information about the author. They're making an investment in you. They're making an investment in your book. They want to know stuff about you that is not necessarily tied to the book. So this place where you can do this. I picked this example because I really like how well filled out it is. It has a fun picture. It has the author's website, their social media, contact information. It has a nice descriptive author bio. And then this author also added their own achievements and recognition. So the reason we have this section for authors specifically is because a lot of times you might have accolades that aren't specific to the book that you have listed on DropCap Marketplace. So for example, if you're a best-selling author for a previous book, you can put, USA Today best-selling author here, even though that bestseller status is for a different book, because that's still important. If you have been recognized in your field for something that's related to your book, like say if you're writing about child psychology and you've been awarded something having to do with that profession, you could put that in your achievements and recognition here because it helps make the case that you're an expert, that you know what you're talking about, and it doesn't have to be specific to your book. This is a great example for fiction. This author put that they were one of 10 winners for a poetry competition. That's really cool. It's not specific to any of the books, but it shows that they have awards coming in for their writing talents. It shows that they have a potential audience, and it gives the rights buyer a better idea of who this person is as an author. And it's going to help them connect with the author more and be more likely to want to put money behind it, invest in this author and his books. So we talked about optimizing the book description. Like I said, try to make it concise and scannable. The categories we talked about, we want those to be very specific to the book. We don't want to go too broad with those. We don't want to have more than 2 or 3 categories because that is one of the ways that we're really targeting the rights buyers that are going to be most interested in it. So the more specific you can get with those, the better. Lifetime sales. This is really important. And this is kind of a newer feature for us. So we do actually have a way to add sales ranges. So not exact sales, but a range. So I think one is between 0 and 500, 500 to 2000, and it goes up from there. So this is important for rights buyers to just have an idea of how you're performing domestically. Even if you're under 500 copies sold, that doesn't mean that licensing is out. You don't need to be a best-selling author. You don't need to have more than 10,000 sales or something like that. But it helps the rights buyer understand where you're at with your domestic platform, and they can proceed accordingly. Um, Awards and endorsements we talked about, very important. Another element that we really recommend you add is an interior sample. So it's up to you. You can provide the full interior, you can provide just a sample. But once a rights buyer clicks on your book, they've seen the cover, they like it, they click on your book, they read the description, they look at your awards, they look at your author information, they're like, this looks great. I want to know more. They are going to want to see the inside of your book. Um, Now, with DropCap, we give you tools to watermark that PDF so that it's protected. And the only people that are able to come in and access that PDF are people who are vetted rights buyers. So rights buyers can't just make an account with us. We have to know who they are, and they have to be authenticated. So they have to log into the system with their credentials to be able to see that interior PDF. So I always recommend providing that, because what you don't want is for someone to click on your book, like it, and then put it in their favorites, and then not ever be able to review the interior. We do have a system that notifies you if someone has favorited your book and you don't have an interior sample. Um, so we want you to upload that in that case where there's kind of that initial interest and they want to see more. We're trying to communicate that to you, but you can save everyone time, and you can make sure that you can kind of strike while the iron's hot if that sample is already in there. And then I also wanted to just call out the cover and title in certain circumstances. So that obviously would be a big change. If you've listed your book and you're not getting traction, and you're not everything else is optimized and you're not sure why, consider your cover and your title. I had an author recently whose um, the title of her book was very US focused, but the actual scope of the book was more broad. So she reworked the title and cover just for DropCap to help broaden the appeal of the book and convey that it wasn't as US focused as it appeared based on the title. So it is something you could consider. Obviously, that's a big step if you've spent time and money to make a cover. Like, you don't necessarily want to change it, but it is something to consider. There's a different marketing angle for readers here in the US versus rights buyers around the world. And if something maybe isn't resonating because it feels very US focused, or it doesn't seem like it has broad international appeal, you could consider making that change. So, a few mistakes to avoid. We don't want vague book descriptions. We don't want something that looks like a wall of text. You want to be specific about what the reader is going to get out of the book, and you want to highlight those things either with formatting or bullets, or that something that lets the person reading it scan the text quickly. um, Low quality cover, that's kind of a big one. It is beneficial to spend a little bit of money to have a nice professional cover done, because again, ultimately it's probably going to be redesigned if it gets licensed, but that's the first thing that the buyer sees. So you want to make sure it's a really high quality professional cover that is going to be eye catching both for your readers and for the buyer. I also want to point out genre mismatch. We see this sometimes where a cover is maybe illustrated a little bit cartoony. Sometimes that reads as more like middle grade or YA, but it's an adult book. So that can be, and everyone has this problem from authors to big publishers. So I don't feel called out if that's you, but you want to do your best to make sure that the cover looks like the genre that the book is in, and you can research this, and get a feel for what other books in your genre are doing for their covers. There's a different look for a nonfiction cover versus a fiction cover. The best thing you can do is hire a professional cover designer to get that fit. But that is something that we see with rights buyers. If the cover just looks like the book is a different genre, even if the categories are telling them it's for them, they might pass over it. You want to make sure all of the fields are filled out. So don't leave any information on your listing blank. Like I said, apply for awards, solicit endorsements, do everything you can. Like, ask podcasts if you can speak on them. Like, your marketing here at home is going to impact the licensing abroad. So make sure that you can fill everything out on your listing. Make sure that you can provide evidence of your domestic marketing efforts, because that's going to have a big impact. Um, if you don't have your author photo or a bio listed, that can hurt your chances. Rights buyers want to know who the author is behind the book. Make sure you upload a photo. Make sure you fill out that bio. Any achievements that you can add them. No interior sample. Like I said, they want to, as soon as they're interested, you want them to be able to see the inside of your book. So I highly recommend uploading that ahead of time. not updating if things change. So, of course, marketing efforts are going to be ongoing. I'm sure you're talking about your book all the time. And if you get a new award or get mentioned on a podcast or in a blog or anything like that, update your listing. Um, that will have an impact on your discoverability as well. Okay, trying to go fast because I know we only have a few more minutes. I might run slightly over 30 minutes. Hopefully that is okay for everyone. If you do have to drop, a copy of this will be sent out after we're done recording. So you can always go back and watch it again. So more ways to stand out. I just want to mention this. DropCap does offer additional paid marketing opportunities. One of the most effective ways to get extra attention on your book is to send it to a book fair. So this is an example. This is a rights buyer looking at books in our booth. We attend all of the major book fairs, including Frankfurt, London, the Bologna Children's Book Fair, and then we have co-agents that attend the Shanghai and Beijing book fairs as well. We also attend the Guadalajara Book Fair. So this is a way that you kind of have a captive audience for your book. We, as agents, we pre-book over 100 meetings for each of these book fairs, where we have 30-minute back-to-back, face-to-face meetings with our rights buyers, and we're taking the physical book and showing it to them. And while we can do everything in our power throughout the rest of the year to digitally market your book to our rights buyers, there's no substitute to having them hold it in their hands. They're going to remember that book a lot more when they interact with it physically. So book fairs can be a very effective way to get extra attention on your book. If you've done everything with your listing, you've optimized it as best as you can, you're marketing at home, you're doing everything you should be, but you're still not quite getting the traction that you want, consider sending your book to a book fair. It's just a very high value, high impact way to get more eyes on your book from rights buyers. We also offer other digital promotions, like we have an upcoming spring seasonal showcase that is basically extra marketing for your book in addition to what we already do on the platform. So we always send out information about these promotions through our email list. So if you're not getting the DropCap Marketplace emails, let us know. We can add you if you're interested in getting more information about these types of extra marketing opportunities. So, okay, I did a pretty good job here with time. So, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them into the chat. I have one here that I'm going to answer now. Let's see if I can get my cursor over here. So, Julie asked, do I need to wait until May 1st to upload my book to your website? No, you don't. It's great to be able to upload your book prior to it launching for sale on websites like Amazon. The reason for that is we can build on that initial buzz that you may generate with your marketing efforts around your pub date. We can build on that with our rights buyers. All we need for you to be able to start listing your book is the cover and a description and the ISBN. Or you don't actually even need to have an ISBN. You could use your Amazon ASIN if you'd like. So you can list your book with a minimum amount of information and then add that information over time. So if you have a cover and a title and you know when the book is coming out, you can get it listed. We will start promoting it. And then once you get additional information, you can come in and fill it out. You can even come in later and add your interior sample, and any rights buyers who were interested in the book will get an update to let them know that you've added the interior. So yes, absolutely no need to wait. Traditional publishers typically send books to their agents months and months before they actually publish. So yeah, the sooner the better. Let's see, any other questions? I don't see any here. So if you'd like, I'm going to drop my email in the chat. And if you think of anything that you'd like to ask me about, please feel free to email me. This webinar will be available to replay if you'd like to go back and look at those points that I talked about with regard to optimizing your listing. You'll be able to replay this and go back and and see my examples, etc. So, again, thank you for coming. I really appreciate it. Feel free to email me if you have any questions and enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for being with us.